up next. Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack. It's the
I was thinking
NC
the
State.
same thing, man. And dun, 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 dun.
NC State was disappointing this year, man. They were 9-4 last year, and lots of people had high expectations for the Wolfpack. I think they were preseason number 24. They received 8 first-place votes in the conference preseason poll. They used the transfer portal a bunch in this offseason. They brought in some pretty high-profile guys. Noah Rogers, wide receiver from Ohio State. And the big one was Grayson McCall, the quarterback, who had torn it up the last few years at Coastal Carolina. And you expected to come in and be a star for them and kind of light it up and help lead them.
And it was kind of shocking that he went to NC State in the first place because he was very sought after.
He was. But they got a quick dose of reality right at the beginning of the season, week 2, when they got absolutely destroyed by Tennessee, 51-10.
Oh, yeah. I remember that vividly. That was such a good win for Tennessee. Everybody was giving Nico the Heisman after that.
I think that was that the only game that Tennessee really kind of looked like old Tennessee of recent years?
Yeah. I mean, Nico looked amazing. I mean, he had an awesome game.
Yeah. But unfortunately for NC State, things just went downhill from there. Grayson McCall ended up getting hurt. He suffered a head injury, and ultimately he ended up having to retire from football altogether.
That's sad, man.
Just a shocking turn of events from a guy that was, heck, he probably could have been drafted in the NFL last year.
Yeah.
He was a really good player for Coastal Carolina, and he got hurt, and that ended his career. And they ended up only being 58th in the country in passing, which coming into a season with McCall, that's not what they expected. They didn't have much of a running game. They were 83rd in the country in rushing. So I think they expected to be more of a passing heavy team this year. And with McCall getting hurt, they just weren't that. But the biggest issue that this team had was their rushing defense. It was horrible. They gave up 249 yards rushing against Tennessee. And if you thought that was bad, they gave up 269 yards rushing against Clemson. Now,
Georgia needed to schedule them this year just to have one good game rushing the ball.
I mean, but the thing is, those are two teams that are good rushing teams, but they weren't triple option teams. Putting up 250 and 270 on the ground, that's a lot of yards on the ground. And like I said, they were just back and forth the rest of the way. No real good wins. They won one, lost one, win 2, lost 2, so on, just the whole year through. 103rd ranked defense in the country. They gave up 50 in both of its losses to ranked opponents. And what I found especially surprising is that North Carolina State has not won a conference championship in 45 years.
Wow, they're like the Ole Miss of the ACC.
Yeah. I mean, you think North Carolina State, they're usually a pretty good team. They're a bowl game, and you would think they would have a conference championship somewhere in there, but it's been 45 years. This was a year that was filled with expectations. Lots of writers picked them to win the conference, and unfortunately injuries and a lack of a rushing game and a lack of defense cost them. So for me, this was almost a disastrous season for them. I gave them a D.
Yeah, absolutely disastrous season, especially after going 9-4 the year before. Just mediocre. I mean, that's how I would describe it. So I gave them a D-, because I'm mean. But for their record, they were bowl eligible, so they had that going for them, which is nice. They get a C+ for that.
All right. So for their final grade in 2024, the North Carolina Wolfpack from the Nitro Show, we give them a grade of a D.